All right, Emma, let's take a look at your essay. So I know I've looked at this once before, but I didn't look at the whole thing. I just looked at excuse me, some stuff at the end. So, even though we haven't done MLA format just yet, what I did do, excuse me, is I put this into double spacing just so I could see things better and go over this better. So what I want to do with you is your writing is pretty good, but I think there's some things you need to do to tweak it for your formal essay writing to be improved. So what I'm going to do, if I can bring this down, hold on, bring it down a little bit. Okay, I have this pulled up on Microsoft Word, and I want to talk about some of the different things. So I can write this and show you how the intro can be improved, and then I will just talk about it. Just talk about it and not change everything for the rest of the body paragraphs. So I haven't talked a whole lot about quote integration yet, so I'm not going to ding you on here. But when you do a quote, typically it's not of the best interest to just have the quote and be like, said this person. So what you can do instead is introduce Jack Kevorkian, a well-known proprietor for, I spelled it wrong, proprietor for mercy killings, stated that his, and I'm going to get rid of my, because you can tweak that a little bit, that his ultimate aim is to make euthanasia a positive experience. And then this still works with what you have. Kevorkian was best known for his tribute into making mercy killings more known around the world. I wouldn't say tribute, known for his, maybe advocacy is a better word, advocacy into making mercy killings more known around the world. And then you describe a mercy killing, which is good. Here's what I'm going to get rid of. All of that. And did you... Yep, you italicized my spend. It just didn't copy. Because you don't need to talk about what articles you're going to do. Because, hold on, let me pause this for a second. Okay, so I stopped myself recording so I could show you what I mean. When you have a paper, you don't need to reference every article and be like, I'm going to use these articles to talk about it. You only need to reference it if it's specific. So I'm just giving you an example from a paper that I'm proud of that I wrote a long time ago. So this is reference to a piece of work that psychologist Jamila Codrington did. But I don't necessarily reference what the article is quite yet. But if we look at, this is a longer paper, hold on. All the references I have, especially because I think, I don't know if you are college bound, but if you are, I just, if that's what you want to do, if we look at this, so I referenced 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 different sources in here. So you don't want to include that in your intro because it's just space, and you want to use your intro to introduce the topic, not the articles you're using. So if we go back into your paper, where were we? A couple examples on why mercy killings are ethical is because it is more humane to make a person comfortable with passing away. Oh, okay. You only have one example, so I don't know where a couple is, so let me think about that. Jack Kevorkian made patients comfortable with passing on and made mercy killings a force of good in the society. But along with it being ethical, it could also be unethical at points. So if I go back into your essay, let me look at your conclusion real quick. Okay, so you are taking the position that it is ethical. So you need to come right out and say that it is ethical. So let me put this on the back burner for a second. Mercy killings. I'm sorry that I capitalized that. I have a lot of people capitalizing killings, and now I am stuck doing it because I've seen it so many times. Mercy killings are ethical because of A and B, whatever that is. You can do it that way. Humane. I have to think about this for a second. But along with it being ethical, it could also be unethical at points. So maybe instead of saying that, you can say, although there is some opposition to mercy killings, they are ethical because of A and B, whatever it is. Because you do talk about it being ethical here, so maybe your first part is because of its humane ending to someone's life, whatever this second one is. Okay? And I think this would actually be pretty good for the intro alone. Because you talk about a good quote from Kevorkian, you talk about what he's known for, you talk about what mercy killing is, and they say, although there is some opposition to mercy killings, although there is some opposition to mercy killings, they are ethical because of its humane ending to someone's life, and B, whatever that is. So I think this would actually be a more effective introduction for you, which may seem weird because it's shorter, but sometimes shorter is better, especially for an introduction. And I think you're just doing some things for the space, which you don't necessarily need, okay? All right, so moving on to your next body paragraph. I am so sorry it took 6 minutes for your intro, but I think that was just something I wanted to address. So looking at this, because you have Kevorkian here, I think this is an okay topic sentence. Made sure his patients were okay with passing away with his method. Maybe instead of saying we're okay, maybe his patients consented. Ooh, consent, yes. Consent is a great word. I got a little too excited with that, but consent is a great word. Made sure his patients consented to mercy killings with his euthanasia method, whatever it is. So you explain a little bit what Kevorkian does, what his methods are, talk about some analysis with how this could be a benefit, and then you talk about his methods again. And then by recapping it, I think this is a pretty good analysis. I think you could add a sentence or two to show how people are choosing that in a humane way. And let me just show you this real quick. This is a word that I've been using that I'm worried people aren't going to know. You could say Kevorkian's method allowed patients the autonomy. Autonomy is basically a choice they get to make. Autonomy to decide how to go or how to leave this world or something. And you would need a little bit more, but there are different ways you could use the word autonomy there, and it's just a good vocab word. You may want to put in your back pocket, but paragraph, good. And then as we move into the next paragraph, you have your mice and med examples, and I like that you put this into one paragraph, and you do talk about the opposition, but you do it in a good way about how you say it. It's really, really quick, so that's why you're focusing on your position of it. Well, people see it's wrong because the dog gets put down, but it's actually a force of good, and you have the analysis there, helped him end the suffering he had been in, and then George and Lenny. I don't know why that's telling you. George, so this is pretty good analysis, and I see what you're getting at with all of this. Because you're talking about George and Lenny, you are addressing the nuances, and you're saying, well, this isn't really what a mercy killing is, but it's good because they would have tortured him and make him suffer. So you actually do a good job at analysis, so that is awesome. Okay. Good quote. Is this the article I gave you? Was it the Detroit Times? I don't even know that. Oh, wait, no. You're talking about a different article. Haha, that would be why. Oh, no, hold on. I need to pause this recording for a second. Actually, no, I won't. If we go back to your Kevorkian article. Okay, that's right. You did talk about it. I got you. Sorry, I just wanted to clear that up. So, you're explaining what the elephant in the room is, and this is pretty good. Okay, you've got some more, which is fine. So this is all good analysis, right? Suffering from an incurable illness, they didn't want to suffer anymore. They want to pass on rather than be alive and suffering. And you should have that right. And you are rephrasing some of your evidence, but it works so good with analysis. So I think you've got some really strong body paragraphs, which are going to lead into, oh, beautiful topic sentence. Although there are good reasons on why mercy killings are ethical, some people may not agree with that. And I think that is a good way to introduce, well, I've talked about all these, but now let's flip the script and talk about people who think it is not ethical. And you do talk about these examples, and that's my first grammar concern I've seen, is a contraction right there. So make sure you have that should not. And you're talking about, what I really appreciate about this that I'm not seeing a whole lot is you're taking the time to look at the evidence, and this is what you're supposed to do, is look at the evidence of people who don't have the same position as you, and you are analyzing that as well in their situation. Be like, this is why they think this way. You have a spacing concern here as well that I'm noticing, and then you shouldn't start your sentences with but. I think you did it in your introduction as well. Yeah, right there. So you do have, that's the main grammar thing, is the but that I'm noticing so far. Oh, wrong paragraph. Okay. And then going, here, let me read this back to you. But going against what people say that mercy killings are unethical, it's a little bit awkward the way you phrase that. And killing someone is wrong. If that person is suffering and they have a very painful and incurable disease, then they should have the right to choose if they would want to pass away humanely. So this is a pretty good way. And then we have the contraction again. The only thing I would suggest for your opposition that would make this better is if you do have the specific example of why people think it's unethical, either use that same example to tie in and show how it demonstrates why it is ethical, or use a different example, be like, well, with the Roswell Gilbert situation, here's this example, and this is why it's ethical. Because the key with the opposition is you do want to use evidence that shows how other people view it, but you still want to use evidence to tie it back into your position. And then finally, with your conclusion, mercy killings are ethical because it's more humane to make a person comfortable with passing away. This is a good topic sentence. I think this, or a good way to start it, restates your thesis, and it does get your reader to think about the skin, and I think it does recap your essay really well. Jack Kevorkian made patients comfortable with passing on, and he made mercy killings a force of good in the society. Someone who is suffering should have the right to be comfortable and have the right to pass away freely instead of suffering. Okay, this is a little redundant, just so you know. And you don't need that. You could just start and have the right to pass away freely. Get rid of that. Kevorkian made sure people saw that in society, people may not want to live a life of suffering and pain and instead pass on. So that's a little bit repetitive. I think your conclusion could be a little bit better by leaving us with something that, hold on a second, I'm just writing this on your rubric. If you leave the readers with something really interesting to leave us off with, I think that would be better. You're kind of repeating yourself in the last 3 sentences, but overall, this is a pretty good essay. I think even though I did the introduction with yours, there are kind of some not major concerns I have because we haven't talked about all of it, but you've got good evidence, good analysis, and then maybe even if you ended with the quote again, it sticks in the reader's minds. Or if you just said, Kevorkian's aim was to make euthanasia a positive experience, and that is exactly what mercy killing is designed to do. Something like that would be better, but overall, good essay. Let me know if you have questions, and I think you're good to move forward.